In the early 1950s, American soldiers came home from the Korean War with a strange new word attached to them: brainwashed. Captured U.S. prisoners had appeared in propaganda films calmly denouncing their own country, and some even chose to stay behind with their captors. The CIA became convinced that a terrifying new weapon existed, a way to control the human mind. And they decided the United States needed that weapon first. In 1953, CIA Director Allen Dulles approved a program with an innocent-sounding name, MKUltra. Officially, it was research into covert use of biological and chemical materials. Unofficially, it was one of the largest human experimentation programs in American history. Over the next 20 years, it would grow into more than 150 individual sub-projects, run through at least 80 institutions, universities, hospitals, prisons, and pharmaceutical companies, many of which had no idea their research was being funded by the CIA at all. The money moved through fake foundations and front organizations, so the professors cashing the checks often never knew who was really paying them. The goal was simple to state and horrifying in practice: could the human mind be broken down and rebuilt? Could a person be hypnotized into forgetting a crime, or into committing one? Researchers tested electroshock, sensory deprivation, hypnosis, and radiation. But the CIA's favorite tool was a drug barely anyone had heard of yet: LSD. In San Francisco, the CIA ran a project with a chilling code name, Operation Midnight Climax. Agents rented safe house apartments and hired prostitutes to lure unsuspecting men off the street. Once inside, the men were secretly dosed with LSD in their drinks, while CIA officers watched their reactions from behind two-way mirrors, taking notes. The men had no idea they were being drugged. Most never found out at all. Some of the test subjects weren't strangers off the street. They were the government's own people. Frank Olson, an Army scientist working alongside the CIA, was secretly given LSD in his drink during a work retreat in 1953, with no warning and no consent. Days later, he fell to his death from a 10th-floor hotel window in New York City. The CIA told his family it was a suicide brought on by depression. It would take more than 20 years, and a presidential commission, before the family learned Olson had been drugged without his knowledge just before he died. To this day, his family does not believe the official story. The experiments crossed borders, too. At the Allen Memorial Institute in Montreal, a psychiatrist named Dr. Ewan Cameron, funded quietly by the CIA, developed a technique he called psychic driving. Patients who came to him for help with anxiety or depression were instead put into drug-induced comas for weeks at a time, subjected to repeated electroshock, and forced to listen to the same recorded phrase, played on a loop, thousands of times in a row. Cameron believed he could erase a person's mind and rebuild it from nothing. Many of his patients never fully recovered. Decades later, survivors and their families would sue the United States government and win. For 20 years, the world knew almost none of this. Then, in 1973, as the Watergate scandal was closing in and congressional investigators started asking questions about CIA abuses, then-Director Richard Helms gave an order: destroy the MKUltra records. Boxes of documents detailing 2 decades of human experimentation were shredded and burned. As far as the CIA was concerned, the program would simply cease to have ever existed on paper. It almost worked. But in 1977, a journalist filed a Freedom of Information Act request and stumbled onto something the CIA had missed: roughly 20,000 financial documents, misfiled in a records warehouse used for budget accounting, that Helms's destruction order had never reached. Those surviving papers were enough to expose the scope of MKUltra to Congress and to the public for the first time. The Church Committee hearings that followed revealed a program of mind control experiments run on unwitting American citizens, foreign nationals, prisoners, and hospital patients, funded by taxpayer money, hidden even from most of the CIA's own employees. Almost everyone who ran MKUltra is gone now. The man who ordered the files burned died believing he'd erased the story completely. He was almost right. If one journalist's paperwork request had gone through a different filing cabinet, we might never have known any of this happened at all. Which leaves an uncomfortable question hanging over everything else the government still classifies today: how much of our history has already been shredded, quietly, by someone who decided we didn't need to know? This is Unfiltered Reality. Subscribe for the stories hidden in plain sight. The Church Committee hearings that followed revealed a program of mind control experiments run on unwitting American citizens, foreign nationals, prisoners, and hospital patients, funded by taxpayer money, hidden even from most of the CIA's own employees. Almost everyone who ran MKUltra is gone now. The man who ordered the files burned died believing he'd erased the story completely. He was almost right. If one journalist's paperwork request had gone through a different filing cabinet, we might never have known any of this happened at all. Which leaves an uncomfortable question hanging over everything else the government still classifies today: how much of our history has already been shredded, quietly, by someone who decided we didn't need to know? This is Unfiltered Reality. Subscribe for the stories hidden in plain sight.